Hey guys, what's up? I'm Connor, aka the Music Fanatic here, coming to you guys with another review of another album. Today I'm going to be reviewing an album by a band that, in my opinion, when the year 2014 rolled around, I thought it was one of the best albums that came out of that year. In fact, it was probably my second favorite album of that year in general, and that is going to be the self-titled album by the English blues rock, hard rock, alternative rock, and kind of garage rock and stoner rock band Royal Blood, and it's going to be their self-titled album. So let's talk about this. So Royal Blood is, as I said, a British rock duo composing of lead singer and bass player and kind of piano player, I guess, Mike Kerr, and drummer Ben Thatcher. That's right. If you've heard this album and you know anything about what this album sounds like, but you have no idea anything about the band, you heard me right. All these awesome sounds and all these amazing riffs and all these punching drum beats and all this like really loud sounding music only comes from two guys. And that's right, you're not hearing an electric guitar, like a 6-string electric guitar in any track off this entire album. You're hearing a bass guitar, which is 4 strings. If you didn't know that, why wouldn't you? Now, the way I figured out who the Royal Blood was is, I don't want to say it's a funny story, it's kind of an interesting story. Because a few years ago, they actually came to around Iowa, which I live in Nebraska, and Iowa's right next to me, and they came to Council Bluffs, they came to Sturcove, which is a musical venue there, and they opened up for the Arctic Monkeys, and one of my friends went to that concert, and he's like, oh dude, the Arctic Monkeys, they were so awesome, but dude, the opening act, they're called Royal Blood, you need to look these guys up, they're pretty awesome. And I thought nothing of it until like maybe a few weeks later when he finally came over to my house and he played the song Out of the Black, which is the first song off the album, and I listened to the entire song. I was like, dude, this is awesome. And he's like, oh yeah, you want to know something? What? That's a bass you're hearing throughout the entire song. I'm like, wait, that wasn't a guitar? And he pretty much explained to me this. The reason why the bass sounds so much like a guitar and why it has that fake guitar sound is because the wire that is running out of the first things first, the bass player for this band, Mike Curran, lead singer, he uses a smaller scale of a bass. He uses like a Gibson Les Paul, I think, and or a Fender Stratocaster bass. So it's like a smaller scale bass, because usually a bass is a lot bigger than an actual guitar. So you use a smaller scale one. The wire that's running out of it has 2 cords. One of them is running into a distortion pedal that is inside of a bass amp, and the other one is inside of a distortion pedal that's going into a guitar amp, and both of them have octave pedals on there, which gives it the multi-layer track sounding feel to it. And I'd say that's one of the benefits that comes out of this album. Sometimes whenever you're hearing songs like Figure It Out or Out of the Black, which I'll get to later when I go track by track on this, you'll be hearing it, and once you figure out that it's literally just a bass guitar that's playing out through this entire album, it almost blows your mind. Like, really, this is a bass guitar, not a real guitar? So, the instrumentation on the bass making it sound like a guitar is one of the benefits, and one of the things that I think is like the best things off of this album. And also, Ben Thatcher is probably one of the new best guitar drummers. Wow, I can't remember what instrument he plays. One of the best drummers like that's come out of here. I hear a little bit maybe of like Dominic Howard from Muse, or like kind of John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, and maybe Dave Grohl. Like, you hear those influences on his drumming, and very inventive way of drumming when you hear the beginning of the song Out of the Black, I'll say that. But yeah, so I think those are two of the best things that came out of this album. Just the instrumentation, and also the lyrics inside of the songs are just, they're catchy. The choruses are very memorable on every single track, and overall, this album is awesome. So, enough about that, let's go track by track. So the first song off this entire album is called Out of the Black. And the way that the song starts off, this is actually what hooked me on the band, just listening to them. Much like most of you who've listened to this album, this is probably the first song you heard by them. It has that constant drum beat that's going along perfectly with the bass. And then once it gets into it, it's played on the cymbal, and it sounds, has that very booming sound and everything, and then it gets soft, gets loud in the chorus, and gets soft again. And pretty much I think the song is about some type of revenge, or maybe like a failed relationship. That's one of the main lyrical themes that I hear off this album. Like, girls and like a failed relationship and all that stuff. But the thing is that they don't make it sound cheesy, and they don't make it sound like, oh, this is terrible, she left me and stuff. They make it like sound like a mature and like honest way, and like they don't make it sound like, oh, this is terrible and oh, I'm so lonely. They make it sound like, they don't make it sound like that, like pretentious and stuff. They make it sound like it means something. And the song Out of the Black, just like just the way that the chorus sounds and just the way that the lyrics sound, to me it sounds like a revenge story. Whether it's about a failed relationship or someone who just did something wrong to you that you just want to get back at them, I think that's what the lyrical themes are. And this song is just a kick-ass song that I think everyone should listen to. And it's probably one of my favorite songs off the entire album. And the next song on the album is called Come On Over. Now, I think that the song Out of the Black is probably one of the best opening tracks that I've heard in a very long time. But the song Come On Over has one of the best opening of any song a song I've ever heard before in the last few years, because it has that the constant riff that Mike Kerr is playing on the bass, and then it just gets into it. And the way that the lyrics sound to me, it sounds like it's kind of sounds like you're in a relationship with someone and you just stop believing that it's gonna work out. And I think the euphemism that they use in the song, in the chorus part where it says, "So come on over, yeah, I went to church and stopped believing. So come on over. Well, there's no God and I don't really care." So I'm pretty sure that's talking about like the relationship that the guy is in, and it's using like the whole thing of like going to church and stopping believing in God and all that stuff as a metaphor for being in a relationship with someone and stopping, and like they stop believing that the relationship is going to work and everything, so they just lose faith in the relationship. And this is probably another one of my favorite songs off the entire album, because instrumentally, it's great as always. The only thing I will say is that there is parts on some songs off this album, like the one I'm gonna get to next, that kind of make it feel like there's some songs that blow my mind, like, holy shit, this sounds exactly like an electric guitar. How's that not an electric guitar, and how's it a bass guitar? But then there's other moments where I'm just like, yeah, this sounds like a bass. And in some parts of this song there is that, but it's not really all that noticeable. But the next song on the album is called Figure It Out. So as I was just saying, some parts on this album you can totally tell that it's actually played on a bass and not a real guitar. And I'm not going to say the song is lacking because of that, but there is moments in this song, Figure It Out, where you can totally tell that's a thing, because the beginning part of the song, you've probably heard the song on the radio a bunch of times. It does sound like a bass in the beginning of the song. It sounds like they're playing it on a bass. In some parts of the actual song, like during the pre-chorus part, where he's not strumming the part, by the way. He strums the beginning of it, but he's just using his finger, and he's doing like, it's called a hammer-on and a pull-off, and he's just doing that over and over again. So in that part of it, it sounds kind of like a bass. But then once the chorus comes in, it does not sound like it's a bass. It sounds like a guitar and a bass playing at the same time. But also in a way, at the beginning of this song, Figure It Out, it kind of sounds like he's using like a stringed instrument. Like he's using like not a bass, but like one of the giant string basses. It kind of sounds like that in a way. And I think that actually adds an extra vibe to the song. And lyrically, I think the song Figure It Out is talking about maybe like the rise and fall of like them as a band, like all the people who didn't believe in them and all that stuff. Like in the beginning it says, nothing here to see, just a kid like me trying to cut some teeth, trying to figure it out. So maybe it's about them as a band figuring out how they're gonna, not really get popular and all that stuff, just like all the people that doubted them. This is pretty much a song to them, just like, oh, we figured it out, or I'm gonna figure it out, how I'm gonna get past you and everything. So maybe it's about that, or maybe it's about like, again, one of those things where people have wronged you and you're gonna figure out how to get back at them. So again, I think this is another great song. I'm not going to say it's one of my favorite songs off the album, but I still think it's a great song. The next song in the album is called You Can Be So Cruel. Now, the beginning of this song totally sounds like an electric guitar. I almost didn't believe that it was actually a bass in the beginning of here. And the way that the lyrics sound to me, the lyrics of this song are talking about, again, it's about a relationship. And the song is pretty much talking about a guy who's sticking around with this girl. It's pretty much as the chorus says, as the song title says, you can be so cruel. So it's about someone who you're in a relationship with, or someone that you're friends with, that is just, can be really cool and can be really like harsh to you and all that stuff, but you're still going to stick around with them and you don't even know why. Like even in part of the song it says, I'm outside your window, killing me so gently, hands wrapped around my throat, choking me so slicely, every word down to the bone. And it says, because you can be so cruel, and that's all I've ever known. So it's pretty much, you've been with this person and they're really cruel and all that stuff, and they're really harsh, but you've never known them to be any different, so you're not expecting that anything else from that. And honestly, the way that the song sounds, in a way, the way that what's his name, Mike Kerr, the way that he's singing in the chorus, in a way, kind of gives me a little bit of a Led Zeppelin vibe, but more of a Wolf Mother vibe, if you've ever heard of them. In a way, this song kind of sounds like it could be a Wolf Mother song, or also it sounds like it could be a Queens of the Stone Age type song. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this band when it comes to it. Like, they're kind of a blues rock duo. They're, in a way, stoner rock, alternative rock, obviously, and hard rock. And I think many of their influences are caused by like some parts of the bass and the guitar sounds like it'd be a Jimi Hendrix type vibe. The White Stripes obviously could be an influence because they're a two-piece blues rock band. Wolf Mother sounds like an influence. Queens of the Stone Age, they just have just that, like, they're also a very riff-oriented band, and all the songs up to this point have the one thing you'll take away is that even if you don't like the way the song sounds, the riff on the song will be stuck in your head forever. And that is completely proven. That is completely proven on the next song, well, two songs from now, on the song Little Monster. When I get to that, tell me while listening to that song that the riff just does not get stuck in your head all day. The next song on this album is called Blood Hands, and the only thing I'll say about this song, it's kind of a slower paced type song, and the vibe that I get from the lyrics on this song is that it's about someone who did something bad, who did something wrong. We don't know what it is, but no one really knows exactly what it is, so it's your own interpretation. It says blood on my hands, which could maybe mean that he killed a person, but it's also could be interpreted as that he cheated on someone and he's regretting it, and blood on his hands, almost like getting caught red-handed, is the way they sang it. And instrumentally, it's kind of a slower paced song, and it has that groove type thing to it, but in all actuality, if there's any song off this album that I would find myself skipping, this is the only song off the album I would find myself skipping. Other than that, I still think it's a great song. It's just probably my least favorite off the entire album. But yeah, overall, I still think that the song Blood Hands is a pretty good song, just not really all that memorable in my mind, and I still think it's a great song. It's just not as good as all the other ones, but overall, you should still listen to it. Next song on the album is probably my favorite song off the entire album, a riff that has been stuck in my head ever since I heard it, Little Monster. Also, a little side note right now, in high school, my brother, his nickname was Monster, and when I got into high school, he just graduated, but all his friends were still seniors, and he was Monster, so I was known as Little Monster, and this song is called Little Monster, so that's cool. Lyrically, I have no idea what this song is about. It's saying, hey little monster, I got my eye on you, so maybe it's talking about, like, a girl that he wants to get with and all that stuff. I think the song may be talking about sex. I'm not sure, but maybe it's talking like, hey little monster, I got my eye on you, I got I got love on my fingers, lust on my tongue, you say you ain't got nothing, so come and get some. So yeah, I think the song is pretty much about a guy who just goes girl from girl to girl and never really means anything, but he likes it that way anyways. And oh my god, the beautiful riff behind this song will be stuck in my head for the rest of my life. The song is on Guitar Hero Live, and that's not the first time I heard it. This was actually the first song I heard by them besides Out of the Black. And I absolutely love this song. Ever since the first time I heard it, like when the song just starts off in that sporadic way, and it's just like a booming, blasting sounding song that, like, when you hear the song live, you know a mosh pit is going to happen because of the way the song sounds. And it kind of has that start stop thing on, like, the verse and everything. It's like, hey little monster, I got my eye on you, and then it plays the riff. Next line, I think that's great in the song. Chorus for the song is awesome. I overall just love this song, and there's a guitar solo in the song, much like there is on almost every part of every song off this album, but the guitar solo for this song sounds exactly like it would be played on an electric guitar. It sounds like it'd be in like a drop C tuning, like almost a Queens of the Stone Age type thing, but yeah, overall, Little Monster, favorite song off this entire album, and I absolutely love this song. Next song on the album is called Loose Change. Now, this is not a con for the song. I'm just gonna point it out right now. If you listen to the song Loose Change, in a way, like you'll hear the beginning of the song and everything. But there's also another thing in the part of this song and that is when the lyrics come in and when Mike Kerr starts singing in the song. In a way, am I the only one that hears that the sound quality on the vocals on this is? And maybe it's supposed to sound like that, and if that is, then that's pretty cool, but I don't know. It sounds like the sound quality is lacking just a little bit on the vocals for this song, but overall that doesn't really do anything less for the song, because this is another song this is one of those songs that, like, when you listen to it, just like the riff behind the song next to the guitar, next to the drum beat and everything, just like this is one of those songs that is just gonna make your, like, this song is just gonna make you, like, start moving your head, like, part of the song like this, and it just has, like, this band is supposed to be a blues rock band, and this is definitely the most blues rock sounding song off the entire album. It just has that vibe to it. It just almost has a dance vibe behind it, and I'm not saying, like, it's like, oh, it has a dance type. It has, like that groove to the song that just, like, hooks you in, like, right away. And the song in general, I think, is talking about, like, the misuse of like, money in the like, this generation, all that stuff. Like, in the line it says, "'Cause all that glitters is gold, till the glitter gets old and your money don't fold." So it's saying, like, everyone spends money just to spend money. And then another part of the song, it says, "Quit playing God on your telephone." So it's pretty much talking about everyone in this day and age is always hiding behind their phones, thinking that they can make a difference in their life. But yeah, above all, I think that Loose Change is also one of my favorite songs off this album, and overall, I just love the song. Next song on the album is called Careless. So at this point in me talking about the album, I really don't think I need to be talking about the instrumentation anymore, because you all know it's good. The song Careless, I think, is another great song off the album. Again, not one of my favorites, but I still think it's a pretty good song. In general, I think the lyrics are talking about, like, a guy who's in a relationship that keeps kidding himself, like the first line of the song says. And it's pretty much he's in a relationship with this one girl and everything, and it's just like a failed thing after, like, failed attempt at doing a relationship, like, over and over again in this relationship, and he finally just realizes, like, he could care less what happens. So that's pretty much what the song Careless is talking about. Next song on the album is called 10-Ton Skeleton. This song is the most epic sounding song off the entire album. This song, again, I think is kind of like with the Out of the Black vibe that I get off of that song, which is pretty much talking about, like, someone did you wrong, and part of the song, it says cut loose like an animal. So it's pretty much trying to say this guy is like, fed up with this person, and they're just gonna cut loose like an animal and, like, you know, go after them and everything and plot their revenge, I think is what the song's talking about. And the instrumentation for this song, it just has, like, that, like, what am I thinking of here? Like, that epic drive to it that just sounds absolutely awesome. And when you listen to the song, it just has that extra punch to it that just makes you love the song if you want to. Yeah, so that's that song, 10-Ton Skeleton. Probably, like, my third favorite song off the entire album. And the closing track is called Better Strangers. So I don't know how many people have heard of this band before, but if you've ever heard of the band Band of Skulls before, you would probably know what I'm talking about when I say that this song, Better Strangers, really has that Band of Skulls vibe to it, especially on the chorus of the song, and also the way that the song starts off. It starts off with just drums, and then the bass comes in. It just sounds like a Band of Skulls song, and I think and I'm pretty sure the song is talking about, like, a chaotic thing that happened with you and another person, like the part of the song where it says, "I'm 1,000 miles from danger if I can make a better stranger with you." So maybe it's talking about this person, you were with them, and everything went wrong, and it's like the farther you stay away from them, the farther a stranger you are to them, so the farther they can do bad things to you, I guess. But I don't know. It's another great song off the album, and I wouldn't say it's an amazing closing track, because the song pretty much just ends. It doesn't really have that, you know, like a closing, like a dance thing, whatever, to it. It kind of just ends, and the album just ends like that. I'm not gonna say it's a great ending track, but I still think it's a really great song. So yeah, those are the tracks off the album. There's 10 songs off this album, so my 5 favorite songs off this album, in no particular order, would be Out of the Black, Come On Over, Little Monster, Loose Change, and 10-Ton Skeleton. So those are the 5 songs I love the most off this album. In the comments, say what your favorite songs are off this album. So my own honest opinion, in the last few years, the way that music has sounded and the way that rock music has sounded, it's been lacking just a little bit. And this is honestly the newest album that I reviewed off this channel, and there's a reason for that. I think in the last few years, when it comes to rock music, there hasn't really been any bands that are out there that are really like making a difference and are really changing the way that the rock music sounds and all that stuff. This is one of those bands that I think is actually one of those bands that's like really doing a really good job at it. And also, CD. I also own it on vinyl, but I owned the vinyl before I owned the CD. If you watch my vinyl collection video, you will know that for a fact. But yeah, honestly, this is probably one of the best albums I've heard in the last few years, from like a newer band and everything. I'd say the only album that actually came out from the same year as this album that would probably stand up to it as being as good would probably be the album Something Supernatural from the band Crowbot. That's another album that I would probably review one day because that album is awesome. It's almost as good as this, and honestly, they're two bands that are really riff-oriented and are kind of like a hard rock, in a way, kind of blues rock sounding band with a little bit of psychedelia behind them. But yeah, honestly, if I were to give a rating off this album, it would probably be an 8.5 out of 10. This is a great album. There's some flaws to it. Sometimes the bass sounds too much like a bass and not enough like an electric guitar, which is what they're going for. Sometimes I feel like the drum beats for the songs could just be just a little more and just sound a little more epic and a little more awesome. Just give some songs like that extra vibe to it. The singing is phenomenal off this album. The drumming, even though it has some flaws to it, is also phenomenal off this album. There's that mind-blowing thing on this album that it's actually a bass the entire time during the album and not a guitar. The lyrics are great. I love how they use like the failed relationship type thing. That's the age-old thing in music, and they use it to their advantage, and they make it sound good, and they don't make it sound like cheesy, mediocre, and pretentious and stuff. They actually make it sound like it has real meaning behind it. And overall, I think this is a great album that everyone should listen to. It was good enough for me to buy it on vinyl, so what does that tell you? But yeah, that was my review of Royal Blood's self-titled album. Overall, I love this album. You should be listening to it if you haven't yet. Like this video if you like this video. In the comment section below, leave me album suggestions that I should review. And yeah, that's pretty much it. 3, 2, 1, I'm done. Subscribe. Goodbye.